First of all, Ola, congratulations to becoming a fellow of the Royal Swedish Academy of Engineering Sciences.
Well, first of all, thank you, Bill, for inviting me today. And also thank you for making me a member of IVA. I think it's a real honor. And also as a Swede working abroad, to have this connection to this very prestigious and long-standing organization feels special.
The industry you work in is, of course, very much affected by regulation. And I mean, in Europe, there has been a number of initiatives. I mean, in recent days, affecting you, the Green Deal, and not the least, the new Fit for 55 initiative, pushing even more stricter regulations on emission reductions. How do you generally see the interplay with the, so to say, the society here, and what regulation that is affecting you?
It's absolutely clear to us that the auto industry is an industry in fundamental transformation towards decarbonization and, of course, also full digitalization. And part of it is, of course, driven by the regulatory side, but the overriding target that we have as industry, as a society, to decarbonize and fully commit to the Paris Climate Agreement, step by step reduce dependency on energy sources that produce CO2 as a side effect, and eventually go into a complete CO2 neutral position. So we fully support that. We support the Paris Climate Agreement. We think that the ambition of Fit for 55 is the right ambition. And if you match that with the strategy that we have presented, we fully intend to be one of the companies that are leading from the front in this transformation. What we can't forget, though, is regulation alone doesn't create the transformation or disruption of an industry. It's very much driven by technology. Mm-hmm. And on the drivetrain side, this shift from a combustion-based technology that we have lived off of for the last 130 plus years, we're now on the verge of gradually replacing that technology with an electric powertrain. Mm. And usually when you've had a disruption in an industry, it is when you reach an inflection point, tipping point, where that new technology becomes more attractive. And we think that that is happening in this decade. So in a way, you could say we have to reinvent the original invention of our founding fathers.
Do you believe that society is responding quick enough in the education system? Because what's your view on that?
We hire people more or less from all different academic backgrounds. Mm-hmm. So you need everything from the engineer to somebody who has studied law or business or whatever it may be. But the engineering side for innovation is, of course, the most important. And we have a very, very strong engineering base coming from traditionally the mechanical engineering side, mm-hmm. Then electrical engineering, and now more and more computer science. And if there would be one thing that I would put more emphasis on, particularly in Europe, it is computer science, because we can see that other economic regions, such as the United States, such as China, other places in Asia and so on, that they have a lead in the field of computer science. So if I had a wish to politicians in the area of education, it is computer science.
Well, that leads me to wrapping up, I mean, some of the reflections, because if I go back to the IVA, the Academy of Engineering Science here in Sweden, our mission statement is to create bridges between business community, academia, and policymakers. So how do you see that you maybe can use your new role to make contribution in this area?
I think it's hugely important that all these three areas work together: business, academia, as you say, and of course, politics. And in the age of transformation, this cooperation is even more important. If you would be in some kind of a normal state, then the politicians, they set the framework within business, within which business operates, and academia feeds us with talent. That would be kind of a normal state. But now we're in disruption. Something is happening here. We got to solve the CO2 problem. Digitization is exponentially growing in companies. Now we have to come together, and policy making and business working hand in hand becomes more important. This is also what we're trying to do as a company, but also through the trade associations, work with governments around the world, here in Europe, working closely with Brussels, of course, here in Germany with the German government, but also in Washington, also in Beijing and other areas, to make sure that there's some kind of a harmonization of policy making so that we can move the whole world ideally at a similar speed, and we don't end up in a complete heterogeneous world when it comes to this transformation.
Well, what you're describing here, of course, is a time when leadership is more important than ever. So how do you see that? Are we on the right path? Do you feel optimistic?
I'm by nature a technology optimist, so I believe we can solve these problems, or we can take on these challenges and create solutions. So in general, I am an optimist. And I also have to say, in this very complex transformation of our complete economy towards decarbonization, it's the task of the century or of centuries to take on such a fundamental technological shift. And here it is a common goal for all the large economies and most countries to say this has to be done. Through the Paris Climate Agreement, we have a direction that everybody wants to go in. So I think that consensus is clear. But now comes the tough part. We have to implement it. And here, industry can do a lot. And that's what I meant before when I said Mercedes wants to lead from the front. When you then decide decarbonize, well, somebody actually has to take on that also as an engineering problem. And we are one of the actors, one of the players that has to do the job. And we intend to do the job. But I try to be optimistic in spite of all the challenges that are facing us in this monumentous paradigm shift.
Well, thank you, Ola, for this time. And I have to say congratulations to the path that you have outlined in the strategy, because I think you seem to live as you learn. And I hope also that we will also see, if we come back in a few years, that all the expectations we had put on the table in the transformation will come through, and maybe even technology will surprise us again.
It often does. And again, thank you very much, Bo, for inviting me into the Academy.
Thank you.